Is this on? Is it ready? Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay? Well, good morning, everyone. Certainly want to welcome you all here to Stanley Bridge. Once the fog lifts here and we start to get a bit of sunshine, it's going to be a beautiful day. So first of all, welcome, and I want to thank everyone for getting up this morning and getting in line with the Premier's schedule. He's an early goer, so I'd like to welcome you all here. Welcome, Premier, all my MLA colleagues, special guests that are here today, panelists, and certainly I want to welcome all the businesses that I see here in the room this morning. A very diverse group being represented, and I must say a really strong representation from right across the province, and certainly from within all different sectors and industries. So welcome you all here. Just briefly, I want to just talk a little bit about our PEI economy and kind of the things that we've been doing over the last 2 years. I think that right from the outset, we talked about being prudent. We talked about being careful with the dollars. We talked about ensuring that our economy was moving forward. We talked about reaching a balanced budget. We talked about investment in the areas that were significant, where we were going to see a great return. And you know, I think when we look at our economy and compare it, and we always compare, but we look at our economy and we compare it to Atlantic Canada, we're very strong. We're not, you know, we're not taking off. We're just strong and steady, and I think it's. What it does is it creates that stability that we need in our economy, and I think our government has done extremely well of trying to go in that direction. But where it really counts is what each of you are doing for our economy. Your strong investment, your investment in growing your business and growing your staff, those sorts of things, that's extremely important. And we're seeing the results of that. We look at PEI's growth in comparison to Canada. We're one of the strongest provinces in the country. And that all goes back to each and every person in this room who contributes to it in such a strong way. I believe we have a solid, a secure province, and a province that people from other jurisdictions are looking at that want to come to PEI and want to invest here. You know, it was interesting as I did my third round of budget consultations this year with my staff, in particular David Arsenault and Nigel Burns, as we travel across PEI. But I want to talk to you just a couple of minutes about some of the things that are consistent that come to the table, and some of the things that came to the table this year. We always hear about social issues. We hear about housing. We hear about, people are telling us, make sure you look after the most vulnerable here in the province. Of course, we always hear about taxes. Please don't raise them. And, you know, we were able to do that this year. That was, for me, that's a milestone. And to hit that balanced budget, I think, opens up doors for us as we move towards the future. One of the things that came up this year consistently was carbon pricing. And, I don't think that anyone in Canada has the total answer to that. But from our perspective, we're going to approach that the same way that we did with trying to get our budget to balance. We're going to try to make sure that as that carbon pricing comes in, that those dollars are put in places where they're needed the most in terms of reducing our carbon footprint, and certainly helping those people who need it the most kind of get in line with carbon pricing and with our energy as it goes forward. And the most common theme that we heard again this year was balance the budget. Make sure that the books of Prince Edward Island are strong. So, we continue to work towards that. I'm extremely excited about what's in front of us this year in Prince Edward Island. There are so many moving parts that are going to be positive towards our economy that it's a great time for me as a guy from the Montague area who get into politics. For me, it's a very exciting time to be in government when we're moving forward in such a positive way, and I'm really happy to be here. I like the way that we're moving, for example, in energy and the way we're moving forward with that, and some of the ideas that are coming forward to reduce the carbon footprint. So with that, I want to thank you all for coming this morning, and I know I'm looking very much forward to what I see on the agenda this morning. So welcome and have a good day. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. What exit peu. Let me join in the words of Minister Roach in welcoming everyone. This is a great turnout. It's a typical PEI. I think we probably had about 2/3 RSVPs, and we've got room for lots more too, because it's an exciting day. It's an important subject. We have leaders of our economy, enterprise, institutions, colleagues from the legislature and government. And that's really one of the most important points about the day, is when we work together and when we have an appreciation of what our challenges and opportunities are. We can do great things and are doing great things in this province. This is the third economic forum that's been held since forming the Board of Economic Advisors in February, March of 2015. And when we get together, we always remind ourselves about the travails of the weather. When we had the first forum, I think we started out to have it on a Monday and ended up on a Wednesday with storm days and so on. And more or less the same thing last year. So by pushing it into the end of May, here we are on the beautiful North Shore, Stanley Bridge, fishing season, and the province is doing well and growing. It reminds me, of course, it should, when we're in Montgomery land, of how Montgomery said that Prince Edward Island is a combination of ruby and emerald surrounded by sapphire. And that's indeed what gives us our sense of place and our reason to be together today. Thanks in particular to Tim O'Neill, Elizabeth Beale, and Michael Horgan, are the three folks who've been our Board of Economic Advisors from the time it was established, and bring great experience and capacity and a sense of this particular place that's worked very well in the time since the council was formed, and we continue to see and look forward to great results by keeping an eye on our PEI economy, by knowing as much as we can about it, and then by moving in ways that we believe will make the greatest difference. I had dinner with Mike and Tim and Elizabeth yesterday evening, and Elizabeth said, "So what's new since we met last?" That would be the end of November. I said the two biggest things, Minister Roach already referred to, the balanced budget, and let me sort of repeat that. That's our first time since 2006 It doesn't happen without a lot of significant effort and attention, not just to making the budget, but to adhering to it and being alert to all of the ways that you do your best in fiscal management through the economic or through the fiscal year and in the longer term. One of the longer term pieces that is in our fiscal plan is to continue reducing our debt to GDP, as well as to continue to work with balanced budgets. And those are two achievements, frankly, that many governments in this country and well beyond have come up, where they've come up short in terms of those objectives. We presented a surplus of 600,000, and that's a way of reminding ourselves that you have to keep paying close attention to these things in order to stick to those projections and stay within, frankly, to keep the revenue line above the expenditure lines. And on that latter front, I think since we presented that budget, we've probably had 15, if not 25 suggestions about ways we could spend the 600, and sometimes it didn't stop at 600. So that's the world we're in. People have great expectations, and there are needs, and that's why you're in government, is to determine what are the top priorities and where you can make the greatest difference. The second thing that we can talk about since we met in November is the result for the 2016 economic year. Statistics Canada released that 3 weeks ago, showing that Prince Edward Island had real growth of 2.4% in 2016, third among the provinces, after BC and Ontario tied with Manitoba. That may not be a league we're used to traveling in, but as we work through some of the pieces that I want to talk about here this morning, that's one of my main messages, is let's get used to traveling in the company of the high performers in the country. And indeed, there are good reasons to expect that to be the case, to intend for that to be the case, and to know that with the right people in the room, such as we have today, that we can do it. At 8 o'clock this morning, the conference board released its spring outlook by province for 2017. And they're predicting, which we should be pleased to see, that Alberta and Saskatchewan will lead the growth in 2017, which is, among other things, a reflection of the fact that they're coming back from being in recession for a couple of years. That Ontario and BC will have a good year on the order of 2.5%. That Quebec and Prince Edward Islands would see growth of 1.8%. And I'm part of what I hope we can take away from here today, is that we can do that or better. And the other three Atlantic provinces, they've got slated for growth of 1% for New Brunswick, 0.5% for Nova Scotia, and -3% for Newfoundland and Labrador. And that's a useful takeoff point for the further piece that I want to share with you this morning. A lot of what the economists nationally have said about Prince Edward Island over the years or through the cycles has been, well, they'll be kind of trudging along with the others in the Atlantic region, and the Atlantic region has tended to trail the rest of the country, and that hasn't been a very happy recipe for our prosperity, or for that matter for our population. And if we don't take away anything else from today, it's that this is now our time when we don't have to fall in with the crowd, where we don't have to be downbeat about our intentions or our aspirations, and indeed where we can make change that might turn out to be even more dramatic, gains that might be even more dramatic than even those who are beginning to catch on to our good news story realize, because we will continue to see the benefit of our small scale. But the biggest thing that we may need to change, and I believe is changing, and we can see it and feel it in this room, is our thinking. We should and need to intend to do well, to prosper, to change some of our long-term trend lines. And with that, let me make sure So this refers to the first of the graphs in the document that's on at your table. But this long-term trend line is the one that, more than any other, kind of seizes my attention and my role as Premier, and should be on all of our minds when we think about our prospects. In 1971, the median age of the 4 Atlantic provinces was below the median age for Canada as a whole, the blue upright line bar being Canada as a whole. And over those 45 years, we've gone to having 4 provinces with a median age, in the case of Prince Edward Island, about 3 years higher than Canada as a whole, and 6 years higher than the 3 prairie provinces. And that still leaves us younger by a measurable degree than the other provinces, Newfoundland and Labrador, having the oldest median age, whereas they had the youngest in 1971. So this is beyond the precise point about median age. This is a reminder that the demographics matter, and that they do change and will change over a period of less than a half a century, and can change in ways that are structural and, frankly, damaging, if I might use that word, but are very negative in terms of our overall prospects. And in the same sense that with the right initiative and leadership and intentions, that we can, in fact, that we can change them. And this slide, which picks up on the 2 at the bottom of that first page, makes that point. Prince Edward Island, in 2016, when we took our various inputs and trend lines, we were looking at a population of capped at 160,000 and a shrinking working age population, which is the red piece here, and an increasing senior population, which is the green part. The overall picture in that left-hand slide is what economists would call the dependency ratio. And it's not very pretty when those lines sort of shrink in the middle and expand, notably on the upper side. The second one for 2017 is when you look at what we've actually been doing and take account of new assumptions based on our actual experience with our population, shows a different picture. And it's one that, frankly, any province in this country would envy, to see a growing working age population, an overall growth in population, and a healthy dependency ratio, or certainly significantly healthier than the one projected through the next 40 years as of 2017. But this is significant, and this is what you can achieve when a lot of people working in different ways, creating employment, encouraging people to engage in enterprise, to grow our population, to have opportunities, building social structures and culture around that. It's all an important integrated picture that we need to be talking about, and it has in fact worked. This slide, which is the first one on the reverse side of that page, looks at the population growth in our region and nationally over a period of the past, 10 or 11 years. And what you can see there, it's actually the one that's on the top, and pardon me, I said it was on the reverse page. It's on the top side of your first page. But there's some really important pieces here which help to explain how we can see that that dependency ratio and indeed overall population changing. So in 6 of the last 7 years, Prince Edward Island has led Atlantic Canada in population growth. Those numbers start to accumulate. They tend to be younger people. They tend to lead to added consumption, enterprise, all kinds of ways in which, so when you do that 6 years out of 7, it starts to become a cumulative thing and more of a virtuous or a reinforcing thing. And indeed, if you look at the last 7 years for that population growth, Prince Edward Island led Canada in 3 of the 7 years. And that's when we really start to see where we're making up some very important ground when we're performing at or above the national profile. Now on the reverse side of that page, this, I mentioned earlier that we had a 2.4% GDP, real GDP growth in 2016, and we can see there that that is superior to the other 3 provinces in the region and ahead of Canada as a whole by 1.1%, which is a very big gap when these things become continuous or when you're able to repeat that in a further year. And indeed, you'll see that in the past 2 years, our GDP growth has exceeded the Canadian norm by a significant margin. Those things start to add up in a very significant way, in particular when we see it as an opportunity to continue growing. The piece that stands out there in terms of where that growth is coming from, and it's well represented in the room here, first of all, is that we have a diversified economy. So that growth is coming from retail, it's coming from the natural resources. Fisheries and agriculture have both had a couple of good years, through to manufacturing, where we've been performing at a rate that's against the trend in the country, and there's reason reflected here in this room to believe that can continue. Construction was big last year. Tourism was big last year, and we hear ourselves naming the conventional sectors, I'll call it, when we talk about our economy, and these are all very significant and they're meaningful. The piece that is very important to keep in mind when talking about this is that in 2016, 70% of our total growth came from the service economy. And that's a much more diverse thing. And some of it is, you might say harder to see, or some of it happens in ways that are enterprise to enterprise, or people are doing things beyond the province that we might not you don't see it moving around on wheels kind of thing. But it's a very big part of the national economy and of our Prince Edward Island economy. The piece that is the upper left graph on that reverse side of your page is what we call the trade balance. This is something that we looked at in the first economic forum in March of 2015, when the trade balance was wider. It was about 1.3 billion then. I don't call it the trade imbalance because that implies that the imbalance is the normal state of affairs. The blue line below is our exports, and the red line is what we're buying from outside the province. And in those 2 years, since we started talking about this, we've shrunk the gap by $225 million, $250 million. And that means that that money, by definition, is in circulation in the Prince Edward Island economy. We'll have the numbers for 2016 by, well, probably the next week or two. And our expectation is that that gap will have shrunk further. And it consists of, it gets defined by what we're buying and selling outside of the province, but frankly, a big piece of it is what we're doing with each other. I mean, that's really where you shrink your trade, or improve your trade balance, is for businesses to find ways and people to find ways to make their purchases locally, to look at procurement, to find ways to prosper together. And that becomes something that's easier to do when you get the kind of gathering in the room that we have here, and you get people who are thinking that way. And it obviously includes a continued effort to sell. We're a small province. We've got a lot to offer in both goods and services, but that only works if we intend to do well. And it's a big, complicated story when you break it down and start looking at it piece by piece, but it's not very complicated. If we're sending more money outside the province for things that we value or need, then that's less money that's going to be in circulation here. And let me sort of give the example of energy. We tend to come at energy as if, it's the latest price increase or whatever the ways are that we think of it on a day-to-day basis. But our total energy purchases from outside the province would be on the order of $435 or $440 million annually. If we can change that so that more of that money is circulating locally, we're producing more locally, we've got a better overall approach, then that's money that will be here in the province, to work in our economy, and for what we're saving, it's money that we'll have to spend on other things. Let me say a word about what this means kind of overall in terms of labor and opportunity. Over the past, the bullet here on the lower part of the page says that labor, and it's really earned income, it could be people who are self-employed, increased by 225 million. That's a big number. Again, it's about 4% of our total economy. That's in 2014 and 15. If you add another 98 million in 2016, that takes you on the order of 330 million extra dollars that are going, into the hands and into the home budgets and into the purchasing capacity of Prince Edward Islanders. It's a very big number, and it's one that is reinforced by the bullet here, which is a big one that says our labor productivity increased by 4.8% in 2016. This is something that Tim O'Neill regularly reminds us of, is to keep an eye on productivity and to aim for that to continue to improve. It's also a reminder that when we say in the case of Prince Edward Island that something has improved by 4.8%, that we have got a lower denominator, or it's the percentage increases can sound good in dollar terms. So we have to keep improving that. All of that said, this is a dramatic step in the right direction, and it's important to recognize that our whole economy consists of enterprise, of work, of people with opportunities to earn, to spend, to work together, and to create. And that is the piece that is reflected in the Population Action Plan, which you have at your tables, and I encourage you to take that away with you. There are 39 precise actions in that plan, and they will. What they really require is for all of us, and for all of us together, to recognize that we have further opportunities. That we, for starters, it's to put people together with work. We actually have, we can see it any day of the week, jobs that are looking for people in this province, probably on the order of 1,000 good jobs today. And we can find out about them. They're pretty easily accessible on the internet. And then that becomes a question of talent and continually making sure that we have the people who will take those jobs geared, upgrading, training, seeing how it works for them, knowing about the existence of those jobs, and we can see where the growth has been and where we have needs right now for employment, and where we can see that kind of over the next 5 years. And there are some employers in this room who are looking at it very directly in those terms. I know there are people kind of in this room who are looking at what could be expansion of a current good-sized workforce on the scale of 100 or more additional good jobs. Our manufacturing sector is growing in areas where we are currently not. We're currently not keeping up in terms of the workers who are ready to take those jobs. We have a squeeze in construction, and here we are right at the peak, or the one of the big months of the construction sector. We had 2 initiatives recently, one in seafood and one in trucking, where we know there are more jobs than there are people, and we know that the demographics are changing as we look out into the future. So my message then is, because others will come and speak about their own direct experience, and that's what's great about these opportunities to get together, is that we have seen growth. It is a very important relationship, and an integrated relationship, between our population, our workforce, and our economy. It's about confidence, and that's the slide you'll see in the lower corner of that second page. It's to believe that we can do this. The other thing that we have done within the past 2 weeks is to unveil 4 regional economic advisory councils, one in the west, one in the East Prince, West Queens, one in the Capital Central region, and one in the east. And Rick Kennedy and Jennifer Dunn are here. They've agreed to lead 2 of those advisory councils. Jason Ramsey and Scott Anir, don't think Jason or Scott is here today, have agreed to lead the other 2. And the concept, the wisdom behind these advisory councils is to recognize that we have different combinations of circumstances and opportunity in different parts of the province, through to how we're going to be alert to the population and workforce issues. So these advisory councils will be looking in their own areas, but looking in a way that would see the economy in a kind of a regional context, or understand how one piece relates to the other, to have then the ability through these four councils to come together at a provincial level to seize opportunities, to be on top of issues, and then to tie it into what was said about the trade balance, to be alert and always alert to how we can grow in terms of our enterprise and our working together through that right balance of buying and selling. I just want to then conclude with some challenges for each of us, and it's always useful in an occasion like this. The first is to be alert to that combination of jobs, people, talent, and enterprise. Our traditional way of thinking about this, I'll say, in our kind of public discourse, has been about unemployment. And in fact, I expect if we went around to each table in this room, the people who are actually doing things are thinking about where can I find the next person to fill that job, or to upgrade, or to enhance productivity, and to do better together. So that's one of our challenges, and we're actually seeing the benefits of thinking that way. The second is sales, both local and beyond the province, domestic and international. And just on that, about 2/3 of our sales beyond the province are within Canada. So sometimes when we say exports, we're thinking about running off on a trade mission somewhere and so on, and you need to do that. You need to show up. They say 80% of doing well is showing up, or maybe it's 90%. It's somewhere closer to zero if you don't show up. But to keep in mind that a lot of what we will do and where we will see some big gains will be within Canada. To be thinking about both small and big opportunities. This is something I find very interesting about where we are right now. I went Thursday night to Mixer, the Greater Charlottetown Chamber, and I'd be surprised if half of the people in that room were in Prince Edward Island 5 years ago, and way over half of them were going around with business cards, doing stuff, doing business with each other. And that's the way our economy is now. There's a lot of potential to grow by talking to the person next to you, and I hope some of that will happen here today, and as we take it away, as we take it beyond this gathering. The other is a sense of place, and I want to go back to what I said about the service sector and how it contributes to our economy, and to bring in the whole aspect of culture and how we know each other and how we value this place and how we think about the economy not just as kind of dollars and cents, but as a life that we build together. And including on the next panel, there are people who will come who are actually working on those issues, the next two panels. And I think this is very important, and it's something we have a capacity, I might say a luxury, to do in Prince Edward Island that many other places are just too big or too busy or too worried to take the time or to kind of embrace ourselves in a way that recognizes that total connection of what we're building together. Because if we're seeing that we're doing well relative to the other three provinces, and we are, and we shouldn't take any kind of satisfaction in a competitive sense in that. But we should think about what that is. One, there is more entrepreneurship in Prince Edward Island. It probably is a lot to do that we're closer to the land and the sea. A lot to do with the fact that most of what we have is small and medium-sized businesses. Some of it is that we just get to talk to each other with more access, that people can take a job and move around without kind of having to change their residence. So we have a kind of an integrated economy. We have something more than that, which is a sense of place, a sense that we can do well and want to do well, and can and will do that by working together. And to repeat what I said early on, a big part of doing well in Prince Edward Island starts in our own hearts and heads. And I'm really proud to stand here in this room, as Premier, and know that when I say that, there are people at every table in this room who know what I'm talking about and believe it, and who will leave here today and go out and do it. The final thing that I would encourage is that we continue to recognize that link between population and workforce and economic well-being. We can't have one without the other. And we can see right here today that we are doing it, that it has long-term implications, that we can almost defy those trend lines when you look at the way those two 2016 and 2017 projections line up, that we can do it by recognizing that we do have that diversified economy. We won't achieve our most unless we're doing great things in culture, unless we're making gains and building on some of what we've done already in clean technology, unless we're excelling and doing something further in what we know about why we call Prince Edward Island Food Island, unless we recognize that most of the ways that we've gotten to where we are have come through strong communities. And my final request to everyone here is to think about whether you or someone you know might be able to make a contribution to the Regional Economic Advisory Councils. So the chairs have stepped forward. There is currently an invitation through the Engage PEI process to put your name forward. We need people with the right kind of energy and ambition and perspective and experience and commitment to work together to make a go, and that will happen. That will happen very quickly, and I think we can look around this room here today and see that it's with leadership, with people who believe we can do well, and who intend to see further gains together, that we'll continue to achieve what we have fiscally, economically, and in a much fuller sense of people and prosperity for this place. I got through all of that without saying the mighty island, so let me let me leave that with you as a way of capturing how we should feel about ourselves and what we should expect to achieve today. Thank you very much. Merci. And I'm going to invite Alicia Bruce, who will introduce herself and then moderate the next panel to come forward. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Alicia. There's some water there if you need it.
Excellent, thank you. Hi, I don't know if I need this or if I should speak into this one. I'll walk around a bit, I guess. My name's Alicia Bruce, and I'll be moderating our first panel this afternoon on population and employment. And I guess a little bit about myself. I grew up in rural Prince Edward Island, 20 minutes east of Surrey, and there is land that far. And I moved off island and went to school in Montreal and didn't plan on moving back. I studied international development studies with a specialization in economic development and living standards. And I fell in love with and married a New Yorker, so that was going well with my plan of moving to the big city and, I don't know, maybe working for the UN someday or a major NGO. But we always came back to PEI, and I talked about the place a lot, and friends who knew us well would always say, Alicia is a country girl who thinks she's city, and Sasha's a city boy who thinks he's country. So when we got a call a few years ago that my father had passed away, we moved back to Prince Edward Island. And I'm very lucky that my husband is as versatile as he is. He left a career, well, not really, he's kind of back and forth in US politics, and became a lobster fisher. Joined the family vocation. And I'm not sure, this is yet to be confirmed, but I'd like to look into it. He might be the only Jewish lobster fisherman out there. Anyway, we did move a little further, closer to Charlottetown. We live in Surrey West now. So it's nice, and I absolutely love it. And I love living in rural Prince Edward Island, and I'm fortunate enough to be doing policy work with the government right now relating to rural development and youth issues, which are both very close to my heart. So with that, I would like to ask our panel to come up and join us up here, and we'll get started on probably an informal discussion on population and employment. We'll have a seat. You see there. I'll sit down, I guess. It might be a long hour of standing. As the Premier said, I think this isn't a chicken and the egg question. It's not what's a debate over whether we should be focusing on population or employment. Both have been identified as this government as integral and important to approach together. They're both vitally important and must be approached together to create opportunities for more people to stay and come to Prince Edward Island. So I guess I'd like to introduce the panel, and I'll just introduce them, and at the end we'll go down starting with Alex and ask them to say a bit about the work that they do. So first, to my left, your right, would be Alex Euland. He's the Recruitment and Culture Coordinator with the Murphy Hospitality Group. And then we have Jacinthe Lemire. She's the Director of La Coopérative d'Intégration Francophone de l'Île du Prince-Édouard. And then we have Susan McPhail, the HR Manager with Maximus. So I guess we'll start with Alex, if he wants to speak a bit about himself, his experience, and maybe speak to some challenges he's facing within his organization and what keeps him motivated.
For sure. First of all, thank you for inviting me to take part in today. It's an exciting opportunity for myself and you know, and with what I do at work, but also what I do on our side. I also sit on the Charlottetown Youth Retention Advisory Board, Charlottetown Youth Matters. So it's exciting to be here representing both the Murphy Hospitality Group and also our Youth Retention Advisory Board. So with Murphy Group, what I do, I've been with the company for about 3 years now, and I actually, before that, was doing some recruitment with Holland College. So being from PEI, that was, working for two organizations that are, a big part in providing employment for young people, which has been something that I've really enjoyed being a part of. So my role with the company now is more so recruitment and hiring. So each day I'm working with our different location managers to get an idea of what their hiring needs are, and then also how can we recruit and retain the best possible candidates for our openings and our positions to grow our company. We like to think that we are a very young company that provides opportunity for young people that maybe start in one position, but can then grow themselves professionally and take on new opportunity. We've grown quite a bit over the last 3 years that I've been there. When I was with the company when we first started in the off season, we were right around 250 employees to about 450 in the peak season, to now about 450 in the off season, upwards to 850 in the peak season. So get to meet a lot of people, and it's been a lot of fun.
Excellent. And Jacinth?
Good morning, everybody. So I am originally from Quebec, and as first as I arrived on PEI, we moved to PEI because, as everybody, we just loved it. And I didn't know there was an Acadian and Francophone community on PEI. And as soon as I learned that, I started to get involved and be interested in the Acadian and Francophone community. But what brought me here is an event we were doing in Montreal. We were doing some cycling events, my husband and I, and we were approached by the Confederation Bridge to do the Tour de PEI. And that's when we came here and we had to see all these routes and sceneries that we fell in love, and we decided to settle in, I would say, rural PEI in 9 Mile Creek near Cornwall. And when we finished the events, I started to search for a job, and I was very lucky to integrate the team of CIF, la Coopérative d'intégration francophone de l'île du Prince-Édouard. CIF is the settlement organization for Francophone newcomers. When I arrived at CIF, I really saw a big need for recruitment. We were mostly working on community outreach at that time. That's probably 5 years ago. And we had very few newcomers that were Francophone that were our clients. And I saw big needs, big gap with bilingual workforce, and also big needs into growing our Francophone community. So that's when I started to look more on that file, and we started to develop a few projects, and that's when the government was happy to step up and help us to fund these projects, and so far it's working well. So I'm very glad that in my job, I think that all the recruitment and promotion and attraction to our province is what really drives me. Oh, yeah. Well, I've been involved, as I said, from my beginning, with the Acadian and Francophone community. And now I am happy to be the chair of the community, and how do you say that in English? Advisory Council, the Acadian and Francophone Advisory Council to the Minister, which is our premier, that's in charge of the Francophone affairs. So we are actually very interested in anything that touches population growth, our Francophone population growth. So whether it's recruitment, retention, the bilingual workforce needs, as well as, of course, the French Language Act that we also look at. So,
Thank you very much, Jacinth. And Susan?
Hi, everyone. My name is Susan McPhail. I work with the Deltaware division of Maximus. I've been there for about 8 years. I'm the HR manager, so I'm in charge of all aspects of HR, of which two of the most important aspects would be, of course, recruitment and retention of our employees. This is our 25th year in business, and we've grown from 1 employee to over 100, and we're looking at adding at least, I would say, another 10 this year. We have some major projects coming down the pipeline, so recruitment is always at top of mind for us, and also retaining the employees that we do recruit. I did grow up on PEI and rural PEI. I grew up on a dairy farm, so I also sometimes assist my family with recruitment for the farm, which is also another very large challenge in terms of finding people to work on a dairy farm and people who will stay long term. So those would be kind of the things that keep me up at night in terms of how to find the right people and then how to retain them once we get them here on PEI. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. And I guess before we start with the formal questions, I might ask the crowd, if you could raise your hand, who was born on PEI, lived here your whole life? Who was born on PEI, moved away and came back? Who was born elsewhere and chose to make PEI your home? Wow, we have a huge mix. And who lives in rural PEI? Excellent. All right, that was a more diverse mix than I anticipated starting out, so thank you. I guess we'll kick off the start of the questions with something you all mentioned, and it had to do with recruitment. So how do we attract and develop top talent here on Prince Edward Island? Maybe we'll start with Susan, the other end.
Sure. So in terms of attraction and recruitment of top talent, I would say that for us, it has happened in so many different ways. So we've had a lot of success with people coming here, going to UPI or going to Holland College, coming on with us in an OJT or co-op work term type position and then staying on with us. We've also more recently had some luck with repatriation, so people who either their spouse or themselves are looking to come back to PEI and they're looking for roles here on PEI. We've also done a lot of work with, immigrants, people looking to move here from different countries, people coming from, the U.S., India. We have currently, I counted last week, we have over 15 countries represented with 100 staff. So that's pretty impressive to think that we have, over 20% of our employees come from different countries around the world. So I really think the key to success in the future is going to be diversification and bringing in new immigrants, new people to join our workforce and embracing them and ensuring that we're doing everything we can to meet their needs.
Thank you, Susan. Jacinth?
So at SIF, we're not like a proper business, so we don't need to recruit for our own organization. But what I found is that when I was talking earlier about the recruitment needs for the Acadian and Francophone community, I had to really study and look at, what were the needs of the province, what were our needs, and what would be the most win-win situation for the islanders and the newcomers. And first of all, we wanted to have some Francophone newcomers. We also wanted to have them work in a sector that was in need, of workers. And we also wanted to develop rural PEI. So what we came up with is a program that we called Agri-Interculture, which is a program where we match workers with farms on PEI. So maybe, Susan, we can chat later. Our first year, we found it difficult to convince first the farmers that they could hire overseas some farmers, and also we came across some challenges in regards that newcomers don't usually have like this EI incentives, any like rebates that the employers would have when they hire they hire islanders. So what we decided to do this year is that we recruited 12 interns, and we have 3 that are here right now. So we have 12 interns that are matched with 12 farms, which for us for first year is great because we are getting the farmers to get used to have newcomers. It's a great awareness of the Francophone community tool because it's just it's a project and you just live with it. And so far with the 3 interns we have, it's really going great. Our next step is to actually go back overseas and find farmers who would like to buy farms, because we know that a lot of farms are or will be for sale in the next few years. And just to conclude, I didn't really mention, but the other part of recruitment was, where are we going to recruit? Do we go like right in the ocean and just say, hey, on social media we're here and we're here to recruit farmers? It doesn't work that way. You have to find the best location, and you have to go there and meet with the people. And what we found is that in France, and specifically in Brittany, we found that the climate, the agriculture, the youth were perfect for PEI. In Brittany, the farms are very expensive. Farmers are being expropriated because the government and the region need the land to build routes in residential areas. Farming is still very popular amongst the youth, and there are great colleges over there. So we found our perfect spot, and I think that's the other thing you have to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and Alex.
So I think for us, it's kind of been a and the Premier spoke about it, it's a change of mindset. With us when it came to recruitment, what we really wanted to do was understand our organization first and figure out how that will connect with potential candidates. So we actually looked to our own people and asked the questions of what does your current role mean to you, and how can you further develop into your career goals throughout our company and throughout MHG to look towards succession planning and whatnot as well. We then kind of established what the values of our current team members were and thought, how can we connect those values with the public or potential candidates that may be looking for employment now, and especially within the youth demographic that may be coming out of school, whether they're graduating or looking for work during school, is what values within our company now connect to them as they enter in the workforce. So we focused on our people first, and then trying to communicate what our needs are, but connect our needs to the values of the general population. And we've also began to do some interprovincial recruitment as well, and traveling to other provinces where there might be post-secondary institutions where graduates are coming out within a field of study that directly connects to some of the positions that we have within our company, but also a fit into the island. We do a lot of recruitment with culinary programs, as the island has such a strong culinary presence within Atlantic Canada, and we try to attract students to the island to grow their potential careers in culinary and in business management and whatnot as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. The next question, a couple of you touched on immigration and recruiting people from off-island. And one thing that we've spoken about here today is the sense of place and quality of life that we all appreciate here on PEI. So whenever we are attracting newcomers to the island, how do we ensure that they feel at home in our communities? And what can we do to make sure that they become integrated in the sense of place that we appreciate so much? And Jacinth, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it really is the role, one of our role as a community organization. You recruit the immigrants, newcomers, but then you have to make sure that they get socially and economically well integrated. We are very lucky to have many partners especially with the 6 school community centers that we have all over the island, and other community organizations that help us with the integration of the newcomers. I think that first of all, it all begins when you actually do recruit your the immigrants. We want to sell the island. We know for us it's been a great choice, the greatest choice. But we want to make sure that it will be the best choice for the people who choose for it. So we will not lie like when we recruit, like it's a smaller place, it's a great scenery, but if you're looking for New York City, well, it's, you better, go elsewhere in Canada. Canada is a beautiful country. I know there's, many other places, but we always make sure that people really know what they're getting into. But it's been working we've had newcomers from Paris, and they really wanted to quit that city life, and they're here, and they love it. The settlement goes for social integration, really goes through the kids. If the children are happy at school and make friends very easily, the parents tend to stay much longer. And then the second thing that helps for retention is, of course, the job. So if the job, the employer, and the coworkers, all make sure that there's a good relation and that the new employee is happy where he works, I think that's the 2 keys for good integration.
Thank you. Alex?
Yeah, I think I would just kind of echo the same in the sense of PEI. As Islanders, we know PEI is generally a safe place. It's a different way of life here. We tend to not move a little slower than some of the bigger cities and whatnot, but it's a little bit more comfortable here. And I think that's something that we can use as an advantage when we're talking to potential candidates that may be coming from other provinces or other countries, and that it's also, while we are a small population and a growing population, but a smaller province, there's a certain connectedness that comes with that as well. I think there's not many other places where you can go to a dinner and then speak to a member of government, and a couple of days later be presenting in the Premier's office on a matter that means something to you. So I think that what you need to do as an employer is, again, look at your current people and the values of the new people coming in, and connect them to the community, and connect them to the different people in the community that they may be able to work with and learn from as well.
Thank you. Susan?
Yeah, I would say some of the same things. And for us, what we have learned is that recruitment is no longer about simply recruiting a new employee. There's really a full recruitment life cycle in terms of whenever you recruit someone, that's only step 1, and then it's up to you to retain them. So when they come in the door, you need to start looking at culture fit. What are they looking for after work? We like to assign every new person to what we call a buddy. So we have a buddy system. So your buddy is supposed to be someone who is not your supervisor or superior, but they're there to look out for you. So if you've never been to Charlottetown before, they're going to help you figure out where to go for lunch. And if you need to know where, I know we've had many instances where we've had people who were new immigrants to Canada, and they're looking for very specific things, like very specific spices to cook with that are very important to their culture and what they do. So there's a lot of kind of small nuances that you really need to get involved with, and it's no longer just about them being your employee, because they're not going to stay if they're not happy in their after hours life as well. So it's all about, engaging with the spouse and ensuring that they're going to the right school and they have the right support system in place, and that their children are happy. And, often their spouses may not have a job, so talking to them about that, and if there's language training that you can help them get involved with, that type of thing. Like, every small step is kind of one step closer to getting them to stay here, because we have had some cases where people have left and said, you know, my spouse is not happy, they're looking for a larger center, where sometimes it's like, okay, they're looking to go to Edmonton or Toronto, we kind of maybe don't have what they're looking for then, if that's what they are looking, if they're looking to live in a larger center. But it's really about getting to know your employees once they've started, especially when they're new immigrants, and really understanding kind of their values and what's important to them. Often religion is a huge one. I know, like I said, my parents run a dairy farm, and we hire a lot of people from India now, and it seems that the religious institutions that they wish to go to are not available here on PEI, so they will sometimes ask if they can get a weekend off so that they can travel over to Halifax together so they can go with their friends to this religious location. And so it's just, I think, about understanding the values of these people and what is important to them, and starting to kind of provide them with the supports and help that they need to ensure that they're living a happy life here on PEI.
Thank you. We'll shift gears a little bit. I would like to ask the panel, in 5 years' time, they're reading national newspaper, something about Prince Edward Island's making national headlines. Prince Edward Island is the best place in the country for, or Prince Edward Island is leading the nation in. What is their dream? What is their vision that would finish that headline? We'll start with Alex.
I think, for me, I think PEI will become a place, a destination for young people to live, to grow, to stay, and to work on the island. I think whether they are newcomers to the island, returning, people that are coming back to the island, or people that are currently here, I see PEI becoming a place that is where you're able to grow professionally as an individual. I think with that, though, we need to continue to connect employers with the skilled talent, whether that's new graduates or maybe that's somebody that is from off island now, that is going to be new to the province or looking to return. I think we can work with our post-secondary institutions and talk to students while they're in school about what jobs are existing currently and what jobs will be coming down the pike through expansion of different organizations and within the private sector, and focus on the needs of new employees. I think a lot of the needs and the values of young people are different from years ago, and I think while being able to learn a livable wage is certainly important, there's also other aspects. Young people are looking for their employers to be community driven, to be engaging with the community. Young people are looking for maybe more flexible work environments or work schedules. And it's just getting a better understanding of what our young people might be looking for and connecting your organization with those. I think at the same time, we've seen a lot of different avenues for the private sector to connect with young employees through different programming and funding. But if we further continue the development of those programs and use those to connect young skilled talent with the positions that we have open, it allows them to flourish. Maybe they start off in their first position within a company, but you can look to those people for succession planning. And I think young people also need to be a little more educated on the funding opportunities that are out there as well, and what they can take advantage of as well as they lead into the workforce.
Thank you. Jacinth?
My dream would be that, the headline would talk about, PEI having the best retention rate in Canada. And I think it's very doable. We're a small island. We're a small province. And I really like, I must say, the new population action plan that the government just published because it's all about an integrated economy. It's all about having the post-secondary institutions being linked to what are the market needs, having our youth being well trained to occupy jobs here on the island. It's also about having migrants and immigrants that come here to work and stay. We do need to work a lot, to attain that, but I think that a good communication, a good collaboration and partnership between employers, post-secondary institutions, the government, and community organizations, I really do think we can do it.
Thank you. And Susan?
I think that my goal for in 5 or 10 years' time would be that PI would be seen as a leader in diversity, and I think we're already there, and we can just take steps to go a bit further. I really think that we are leading in terms of welcoming new cultures, new people, immigrants from different countries across the world, and I think that if you look at our demographics and the aging population, it's just a reality that we're going to need to continue to embrace this and look into it further. So the keys to that will be to embracing new immigrants and also retaining those immigrants and ensuring that they're staying here for the long term.
Thank you. We've spoken a lot about population so far, so I'd like to touch on employment. And one question I think kind of came up with what Alex was speaking about, but what is work even going to look like in 5 years? What is the future of the workplace, and what kinds of careers should we be preparing our population for? And that would also speak well into retention to keep pace with the rest of the world. So what does the future of work look like? We'll start with Jacinta.
I think that the future is, as I think Susan mentioned, diversity. I think diversity really is the future that we're going to see in our workforce. Not only diversity within the cultures, but we see more and more people who have retired that come back, on the work market, and the youth that want to, are working during their studies. So I think a diversity within the generations, but also within the cultures. I think we will see that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much.
Great, thanks. Susan?
Yeah, I would echo the same and just say that I think that the work world will change and we need to change with it. So it's just so important to be continually looking at our programs, looking at, for us, we hire a lot out of Holland College and UPI. And I think we just need to continue to look at those programs and ensure that they're meeting the needs of the world, because the world is constantly and very rapidly evolving. So I know it's hard to keep up in terms of changing educational programs. It's not as simple as just snapping your fingers, but I think we do need to continually be looking at those programs and ensuring that they're meeting the needs. So I know in the IT sector, we're always, using changing and new technologies. So it's just kind of hard sometimes to ensure that the students coming out of those educational institutions have the correct skills that will align to what we need. So I think it's in large part about collaborating and working together in sectors and with educational institutions to ensure that we're training people and providing them with the proper skills so that they'll be well equipped to enter our workforce.
Right, and Alex?
Yeah, I'd like to kind of echo both Jacinta and Susan, but I also think entrepreneurship has seen quite a growth here on the island. You can see a lot of young entrepreneurs here, and their organizations really starting to flourish. I mean, you look just in the Charlottetown area alone, you can look and see Receiver Coffee, the Kettle Black, Courtside Sneakers, these organizations of young people that have taken an idea from from the idea stage to an organization that's, you know, busy and become community hubs and really kind of flourished. We've seen growth in retail over the last few years as well, and also within the service industry. And I think that'll continue to grow. But I also think if we allow or if we work with our young entrepreneurs to develop them through mentorship, guidance, and even incentivize our young people to take the risk. I think a lot of times we can, you know, going back to having the idea of changing our mindset, I think a lot of times we think, you know, it's PEI, it's smaller. Maybe I'd be better off if I start my business elsewhere or in a bigger population with larger demographics or that might connect to my market. I think at the same time, with PEI being a place that it is, we've seen such changes in technology that allow us to start organizations from our homes, from an office space. We've made some great strides in implementing mentorship for young entrepreneurs. You look at the Startup Zone downtown, where they connect with so many young people and allow them to gain that kind of mentorship and guidance that is needed. I think as long as we continue to develop those that mindset of, yes, you can start your organization here, and yes, it can be successful, and just maybe change some of that way of thinking, then we'd be going in the right direction.
Excellent, thank you.
Can I just
yeah,
add something?
absolutely.
We talk a lot about retention, but we have to be also realistic and honest. That nowadays people will change probably jobs 5, 6, 7, 8 times during their career, which, as you know, my father and mother had the same job, you know, for 25, 30 years. So that's a reality. But I think that something that we have to keep doing, and I know it's something that we do a lot within the Francophone community, is that if someone works within an organization or a company, and I mean for some reasons they will leave or quit the job, we always try to find where else this person could work. Especially in the Francophone community, we don't have many resources, and if, for example, my organization was to hire an employee for a specific project, and I do hire people from, you know, outside PEI, I want them to stay. I mean, it's our mission anyway, so we really want them to stay. So the thing after that is I will start to communicate with other employers and to see, you know, where this person who has great skills and great talent could fit. And we do the same thing with our clients. So the newcomers who come to the island, they usually come with a job. You know, migration comes with a job for one person in the couple. Sometimes a spouse will not have a job, but one of them will have a job. The hardest job to find for these people is the second job. And I think that's where we have to come together and collaborate and communicate and see, well, if that specific person doesn't work, can't stay for many reasons in our company, where else could that person go? You know, we have other partners where this person could fit, and we're small, so we have to work together. I think that's the key.
Absolutely. I guess on top of that, just to build on some of the comments that were already made, what can we, everyone in this room, or as an island in general, be doing to create opportunities for islanders and for newcomers, or to give them, to ensure that they have the sense that they can create their own opportunities and make things happen here on Prince Edward Island? Susan?
I would say the big thing would be to share our success stories. I don't think that we can do this enough, almost to brag about what we have going on here. PEI is an amazing place to live, to work, and to play. And I think we need to tell the world about that. And we have so many great success stories, even that we've just mentioned in the last, 30, 40 minutes, that we can be sharing with the world. We just had an employee start last week, and she came here from Nigeria to go to UPEI. She chose UPEI because Nigeria to her was too big, too too many people. She wanted to come to a smaller location, so she chose PI, so she got that right. She went to UPI, completed her degree. She was a valedictorian, and she decided that she was so fascinated by how kind and caring and nice people were on PI that she wanted to stay here. So we were very fortunate to hire her, and she started with us last week in an accounting role. So it's stories like that that I think we really need to share. It is a pretty special place to come and live and to work, and if we can keep, building on that and sharing our success stories with the world, I think we'll continue to recruit and to gain new people here on PEI.
Great. Jacinth?
Yeah, I will agree on what Susan just said. I think that we need to not only the success stories, yes, we use them a lot when we recruit overseas. We did a little videos, and we have people, and then they share and they talk about, their experience. The success stories also with the employers and with the communities. I think that it's again, everybody together, but if we have success stories that, within that new soccer team, we have these, for example, people from Europe where soccer is very popular that, will enhance the soccer team. I've heard things like that. Town of Stratford has, I think, a cricket field now. And I think it's these kind of, success stories, yes, but not only towards the immigrant, but the employer and the community as well, and the leaders, whether municipal or government, provincial government elected people. I like to see that.
Absolutely. And Alex?
Yeah, I like the comment on success stories. I think, as individuals and as people, it's kind of how we connect to others. It's all about kind of connectiveness. And when you can read a story of someone, whether they're new to the island, new to the country, or have returned home or have been able to flourish here, that's something that, you gain a certain level of confidence with. You begin to really think that, change that mindset again, like I said earlier. It really, allows you to think that this is a place where I can live, stay, grow, and play. I think, especially when it comes to young people, showcase other young people that are currently in your organization that are successful, that maybe started off in a position where maybe it was more entry level, but they've been able to work and gain different experiences, maybe different mentorship, and gain that level of confidence to take on new and active roles within organizations. I think young people are leaving school and they're relatively confident, but at the same time, they're looking for that level of guidance. So if you're able to showcase the people within your organization that have been successful or grown as individuals, then it allows them to kind of connect more personally with your organization as well. Within MHG or Murphy Hospitality Group, that's one thing that we've really focused on over the last couple of years. We call them our MHG stories, where you look at your people that work in your organization every single day that are frontline staff, or maybe they're in more administrative roles, whatnot. Every person that works within your organization has a story. Maybe they came from off island, maybe they've grown up here their whole lives, but each one of them have started off in their careers in one way or another, and it's highlighting those and connecting those with potential candidates, and it also showcases what avenues you have available in your organization. I know a lot of people, when you think of the Murphy Hospitality Group, you think of restaurants and hotels and breweries. We on staff have an HR team of 4 people. We have a graphic designer, we have a marketing team, we have a photographer, we have all these types of positions that people may not necessarily know about, and I think it's telling these stories of our people and connecting them to the values and the needs of the potential candidates that are out there.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And for our final question from this panel, moving forward after today, in the panelist opinions, what is the one area that we as the government should be focusing on with regards to population and employment on Prince Edward Island? And I'll start with Jacinth.
Oh, that's a tough question. Where should we go? I think that we need to continue to communicate and be partners together. As I said, I think that the new board of economic advisors that will be set up in different regions, I think I'm hoping that there will be tremendous tools to enhance the rural economy. As far as population growth, for example, in the Francophone community, CIF doesn't act by itself, for immigration and retention. We have what we call ERIF. It's an immigration network, and we have many partners that are around the table, and we meet and we work on projects together, on specific projects for whether it's settlement or integration, and I think that's when we work together that we can really put on very good projects that will help the newcomers to stay here. So networking, communicating, and partnership.
Thank you. Alex?
I think it's important to continue to cultivate and grow the relationship with both the established private sector and also with young entrepreneurs and new entrepreneurs, connecting them with potential candidates. We have a very educated and smart group of islanders that are either graduated recently or coming out of post-secondary institutions. So I think it's to continue to develop the relationship between the private sector and those young people. We don't, as our board, the Youth Retention Advisory Board, we consistently state that it's not necessarily government's job to create jobs, but it is their job to work with the private sector to establish connectivity through young people, people with different skills and backgrounds to the openings that they might have within their own individual organizations. And that, there's been a lot of great funding that has come out in the last few years, and I think it's important not to close the door on any of those options, but to continue to develop those. Sometimes, as an employer, it can be a little difficult to match the best suited candidate to an opening based on the funding that is available. I think sometimes it can be a little bit of a fitting a round object into a square hole at times, but I think it's to continue to develop those programs and initiatives and educating our private sector on what programs do exist, but also our young people on what programs exist so that they can fully take advantage of those as well. Instead of having the mindset of that maybe there is an opportunity here, maybe I have to move away. Educate them on what opportunities are available and that there is help for them. I also think the use of technology is something that we can definitely continue to use. I think everyone in this room knows somebody that maybe is from PEI and has moved off island and maybe has gained some experiences there that would definitely be beneficial to us as islanders and as the government or members of the private sector is using technology to educate those people that may have left on what opportunities are still here. You have avenues like Work PEI that has been developed over the last little bit. I think we can continue to grow that, but also connect with those that are looking for, maybe it's a change of pace, maybe it's a change of lifestyle, and PEI and Charlottetown is that place that provides that lifestyle for them, and connecting with them to bring them either back home or for their new home.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. And last but not least, Susan.
I think the answer will be working together and collaborating and communicating. I think we have all the tools and resources we need to, be successful going forward, but it's a matter of ensuring that we're working together to find the right answers. So I know that for the IT sector, we participated in January in in a roundtable discussion with Skills PEI and Innovation PEI, and it was excellent in terms of there were many IT employers around the table, and we all shared what our challenges were and what our issues were and how, you know, potential solutions moving forward. So I think it's more of, you know, opportunities like events such as this one and roundtable discussions and bringing different groups to the table, like the Chamber of Commerce and the PI Association for Newcomers, and all of us working together to evaluate what is going on and what the solutions are going forward, because it's going to be constantly evolving. So we need to keep the conversation going, you know, back and forth so that we can ensure that we're lining things up and that the programs, kind of like Alex said, align with our needs and make sense with what we're looking for in the positions we're looking to fill. So I think if we can keep the conversation going, then we'll be able to be successful in that going forward.
Great. Thank you so much, Susan. And a big round of applause to the panel for their answers and insights today. And with that, we conclude the first panel of the day, and I guess we'll move into a coffee break in the room at the far back. There's coffee and sweets available, and we'll reconvene in 15 minutes at 10:30.